Hey everybody, this is Drink64 and week 2 of the Starbury Star Bomb has now begun, and it started off with Mathmagic, which overall I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really cool, and as with every other episode it was important in some way because it started to open up some ideas that could definitely come into play in the future, I feel, and I'll get into those when we get into those, but I definitely liked this episode. It was a great way to start off this week, and we're going to get into some much better episodes this week, I feel. This one was just a nice starting point, I feel, but it did introduce an interesting new character, and we got to see Father Time again, as limited as his appearance was, So this episode starts off with Star in math class, which is exactly how I thought this episode would go. I thought it would be set in math class anyway, so I was right on that point. But it just starts off with her being told a joke by Jana, and it's a pretty shit joke, by the way. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Pretty simple joke, and obviously Star gets called to the front of the math class to solve for C by the teacher, and she can't do it, and all the crazy stuff goes on. Marco even yells at her, and, she can't solve the math class. But then we get to the real meat of the episode, which is time goes completely crazy, and basically it just starts looping, but in different ways. Things change. The joke that Jenna tells at the beginning of each segment is different. Whatever Marco says is different. Everything starts to look different as we get further in with this. And it even results in some pretty hilarious things to actually happen, which I'll probably show off at the end. I'll probably just talk about those things at the end. But, overall, really interesting, although this does go on for about half the episode, so it feels very confined to the math class for most of the episode, which I'm fine with. I would have liked a bit more of, like, Father Time or this new character that I'll get into, but all that stuff happened. We even got to see the teacher as she was as a human back in Season 1, and we didn't really see that much, so that was actually kind of a cool little surprise to see. But we saw some pretty interesting stuff. One of the hats that Jana actually wears, that I noticed, looks an awful lot like the hat that Ash Ketchum wears in Pokemon. I don't know if this was intentional, but it does kind of look that way to me. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but yeah, that's just me. But basically, Star starts to realize that something's wrong, something terribly wrong, so she goes to see Father Time, thinking he's the one that can actually help her solve this. So we do see Father Time running on his giant wheel, and really wasn't in it too much, which I thought was a real shame. When I did actually see Father Time listed in this episode, I was kind of happy. I did actually like him in Season 1, and I would have liked to see more of him, so that's kind of a shame to me that we didn't see much of him. Really was kind of a shame to not see much of him, but anyway, we did get an interesting new character in the form of Omnitrexus Prime, which, total Transformers reference there. I don't even think I need to say anything about that, but basically Star meets Omnitrexus Prime. Basically, he explains that, like, Father Time manages time, and this guy manages space-time. It's kind of weird, but I guess it makes sense. And basically, he's the one that can help her, and Star explains what's happened. She can't solve the math problem. So basically, Omnitrexus Prime tells her to basically just solve the math problem, which I think a lot of people will agree when I say that math class is the worst. So yeah, I can kind of see Star's problem with it. I'm not going to argue on this one, so she totally has a point. But basically, Omnitrexus Prime tells her to solve for C, which is what she's had to do since the very beginning. So he takes her inside of his stomach and shows her some pretty interesting stuff, and basically explains all about parallel dimensions and the fact that there are other stars out there. And this is where things start to get really interesting, because this scene right here that I'm probably showing on screen right now is really interesting. It shows all the different stars in a bunch of other different dimensions, and right off the bat we can just see sort of a whole bunch of stuff that we have seen and haven't seen at the same time. So whether we'll see those things in the future, I have to wonder. We can see a cat-like star, we can see a donut-shaped star, which is absolutely hilarious. It reminds me of actually the Halloween episode of The Simpsons with Homer having like a donut head. I don't know, it just reminds me of that. We have Star in like some kind of a bear costume, which is really weird. We have an evil-looking Star. We have Star looking like Kelly, which is really weird, so I wonder what that's all about. We have Mubity's Star from Season 1. We have some kind of warrior Star up ahead. We have some kind of swimming costume Star. I don't really know what to call that one. We have Star looking quite normal. We have Star as Queen, which is really interesting. I think we actually saw something like that in the promo poster for this half of the season, so maybe this is what that was alluding to. I don't know. Just above that, we can see Star wearing some kind of skull hat. I don't know what that's about. We can see Baby Star looking like a kid, which is adorable, by the way. We can see Star looking, again, pretty normal, so there's nothing there. We can see goth-like, edgy Star just below that. We can see kind of a nice-looking star. I think that's the Blood Moon Ball star, if I recall. Yeah, so there is that. We can see another pretty normal-looking star. We can see Bedtime Star. We can see a weird-looking star with a weird hairstyle. Star, as she was dressed up with pony head for that party one time. We have Star in some sort of an eye patch. I'm sure we've seen that costume before, and I don't remember where. I know we have. I apologize. We have Old Star. We have Bearded Male Star, I guess. And we have Star looking like Mina Loveberry from the episode Starstruck. So, again, we've seen some of these, but we also have like the one where she's looking like Kelly and the one where she's looking like Mina, which show parallel universes where she is those people. So, really interesting, actually. And it really brings up the idea of a parallel universe is actually going to come into play on this show, which opens up a hell of a lot more possibilities. This half of the season just seems to be about opening new possibilities for further seasons to me, so there is that. But basically he explains that Star has to be the one to do the work, and then gets her sent back to math class where everything is freaking weird. Basically, everyone turns into beetles, and then she turns into a duck, so Star has to go and solve for C. The world almost gets torn apart by time being destroyed, and Star does end up solving the equation, and restoring time back to normal, or space and time back to normal, but the equation's all wrong. It was actually Star just needing to try. And the episode ends out with Marco having to solve it because Star couldn't do it. So, yeah, that's the episode, just about. Really, really interesting episode. I liked a lot of the stuff. Again, a lot of the stuff with the math class was pretty on point. Math has always been the worst, especially even when I was at school. I hated fucking math. That and history were probably the worst, but really good episode. Shame we didn't see much Father Time. I thought that was a bit of a shame, to be perfectly honest. I would have liked more of him. I mean, seeing him listed for the episode kind of got my hopes up, but I still enjoyed the episode nonetheless, really I did. Omnitrix is Prime, cool character. I loved the sort of back and forth between him and Star. It was great, really, and I'd love to see him again in the future. We probably will, I wouldn't be surprised. But just overall, this was an interesting episode. Not much happened, but it definitely opened a huge possibility for parallel dimensions, and that's a huge thing. Especially when at the end she was like switching back and forth between her parallel self and her. So I wonder if we're going to see that come into play, whether we'll be able to travel between parallel dimensions at some point. That is something this show could definitely go ahead and do. And I'm really looking forward to that. That gets me really hyped for future stuff. Season 3, gonna be a lot of fun. But that's about it for this episode. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, thought it was really cool. And what did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of the episode. And if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.